I want to discuss in this short video your mind. What do you feel to be at the root of your psychological being? A movement of words and images bound in time. Fueled by desires, fears, pleasures, and an incessant movement towards becoming something. Have you ever questioned where this inner structure of thinking came from? Why did almost every human being on this planet develop into this isolated movement of interpersonal identity, ever seeking to become something in time? This inner psychological structure, this structured approach to life of thinking, is in great part traditional and in equal measure educated into us. Let's think back to school years. During school, for at least 12 years, our brains were trained into forming the patterned approach to life we can witness within the human mind today. The brain of the child is programmed to find security within an accumulation of memory, to be later utilised in school years repeatedly and often to pass class tests, and establish oneself within a classroom pecking order of competition. The mind of every child naturally learns to find its security within memorised information, knowledge gathered from experience. Having been mandated to such repetitive activity, and to finding life security within knowledge, the human brain persists in the psychological activity of concentration throughout childhood, into adult and older age, and right up to the point of death. Thought is memory, legacy of school years, and thought divides us. I want you to think of a time you quarrelled with a close friend, a family member, or perhaps a partner. Did you notice how the mind carries over such problems in memory, constantly tormenting itself? Did you notice also how your inner memories of previous conflict come to distort your perception of whoever you have quarrelled with? Memories are images. Words are images. And when we carry inward images from the past and project them onto what we see in the present, we naturally come to distort what we see. And so the pattern of living in memories we were all educated into during our school years continues to this day. And we continue this throughout life, unless we can come to understand this moment-by-moment functioning of this pattern and bring it to an end. We are discussing the root of conflict between people and how this inner programmed approach to life of living in memory can damage our relationships. But any inward movement arising from past experiences will do the same. If I hold strong desire, I am not in any position to freely relate to life, for my inner desire colours what I view in this world. If I live in fear or in pleasure, in any inward movement generating emotions, I am, in all effect, divorced from this creative moment of life. All inner movements of self isolate. And in such psychological isolation, a sense of loneliness, inner pain, frustrations, and feelings of an utter futility of life arise. All depressions and anxieties, all psychological issues keeping psychiatrists busy, arise from the same inward confusion which has its roots in our now automatic brain cell activities programmed into us as children, and which we now, without question, come to find a sense of psychological security living within. This is the inner chaos of living in the past, which gives birth to the outer chaos of our world today. Our system of education is a contributory factor which leads humanity to war. This tragedy happens because we have all differing past experiences, and so the images each of us projects from our inner recorded knowledge differs and becomes a constant division between us. All divisions inevitably lead to war. Incredible, is it not? To see, to realize, and to understand that we educate our children to war. The greatest of all quests our race faces today is not to reach Mars. It is not to bring about a great reset. It is not to seek to better our outer existences at all. For as long as our lives are corrupted by this inner educated and traditional corrupting inner movement, every move we make will out of necessity be a limited and fragmented, selfish approach to life, unable to act holistically for the benefit of all, as this is ever limited to the capacity of thought, and thought is limited to previous experience. Thought is limited to the totality of knowledge I carry in my brain cells, recorded from past experiences. And it is this limitation which constantly divides us and has led us to the havoc and the chaos we find in our world today. To heal our divided world, we must surely cease to act from a divisive, self-interested position. If we do so, we inevitably come to seek to control the lives of others. Others who differ in their inner conceptual approaches to life, by virtue of living on and finding security within differing recorded patterns of words and images, recorded and stored in the brain cells as knowledge within memory, and from which within every thought is born, and thought is the precursor to every one of our actions. This is the pattern of our inner self-generated life corruption. Our minds are a programmed movement within human memory, and this movement is the root of all conflicts between us. And so to end conflict, it is pointless indeed to look without. We can find no security in borders, national divisions, nor traditional beliefs, for these are all legacy to our outer search for inner psychological divisive continuity. If we are truly serious in our quest to bring a sense of order and peace to our battle-worn existences, we must look to the cause of what brings all this inner and outer chaos to life. We must look patiently, definitely, and with great care. Ultimately, this cause will come to be seen as this inner movement of thinking, which colours our perception of our lives, our world, and our universe, dividing between our divisive knowledge of what we see based upon the past experiences we have lived through and which now project themselves from our thinking brains onto our creative living world. We can never repair this inner educated movement, for it is nothing other than a corruption to our lives. Our greatest difficulty is this, that we have been deeply programmed to find security in living in the past. School did this, and the evidence is in every recording which arises within you day and night, which you have come to call your thinking mind. The chaos in our world will all dry up and die when we remove the cause of this chaos. And the cause of this chaos is our divisive processes of thinking. If this educated approach to life can be brought to a stop, each of us will immediately cease to view the world based on what we think about it, which is divisive, and we will, for the very first time, view our world as it is. This is essential. And if we can unlearn this educated patterned behaviour, we can cease becoming, which is another divisive pattern which has given rise to the absolute obscenity of wealth divisions on this planet, where a few men own hundreds of billions of dollars and refuse to help anyone else. A child dies every 5 seconds from starvation. Rich in numbers does not equate at all to any true wealth. For a man who holds so much and demands even more, yet who cannot bring himself to save the life of a hungry child, is truly no man of any wealth worth considering. Rich in numbers such men may be, the poverty in their hearts is just as mountainous. Inner self is inner self-interest, interested in becoming something, and becoming more. This is human ego. And this is the only true problem we all face today. All other problems have their beginnings here. And so a free world, a truly free world, is never possible as long as we continue to act from the limited structure of this educated, divisive, pleasure-seeking, desirous, selfish, and fearful inner educated mind. A free mind is needed before we can take one step in any outer activity. And freedom can never be found in thinking, which limits continuously our world view to a distorted conceptual translation arising from what came before. A free mind is surely a mind free to look without contamination from the past tainting its vision, or desire for the future doing the same. And so our world perhaps has potential to heal, but only if we can end that which prevents our healing. And that, upon investigation, will most certainly be found to be this conceptually patterned, educated, divisive approach to life. We have found our enemy, and our enemy is what we are.
In all of us, there is this urge to become, to be somebody, both outwardly as well as inwardly. Outwardly, it's obvious. The worship of success. And inwardly, there is always this movement to be something more than what one is. Because we don't know what one is first, but we're always eager to be more than what we are. The more or the better is the enemy of the good. So, to understand ourselves, to look at ourselves, which is to be aware of all the content of our consciousness. Is that possible? But we are thinking together. And that may be one of the most difficult things too. Because we are so concerned with our own thinking that we cannot cooperate in thinking together about the same thing, to look at it not from any particular point of view, to look at it freely. That seems to be one of the most difficult things to do. So can we look at ourselves freely? Actually, what's going on, without any motive, distortion, or direction. Is that possible? As we said, the content of our consciousness is put there by thought. The gods we believe in, the invented symbols by thought, all the fears, the enormous sense of loneliness, the violence. This whole content is you and I. Can we look at that content as a whole, or must we look at it bit by bit? Fear, pleasure, pain, grief, loneliness, sorrow, love, death, meditation, and so on, so on, so on. That is, our brain which is now functioning partially, that part is looking at the content of all the consciousness. Right? That content can be perceived through relationship. That's the mirror in which the content of our consciousness can be observed. That relationship between one another, intimate or otherwise, in that mirror you can see your reactions of fear, possessiveness, domination, violence, sexually and otherwise. All the reactions and the responses in that relationship are revealed if one observes it, if one is aware of it. Are those reactions to be examined one by one? That would take an enormous time. Perhaps a whole life. And that would be impossible. Or can one perceive the totality of it at one glance?
Big thanks and call out to our very first ever Patreon subscriber, Lizette Daniels, hailing all the way from Australia. Lizette is first in line to view our soon-coming exclusive content, only available for Patreon subscribers, as well as being eligible to participate in coming planned webcasts. If you like what you are seeing here and are in a position to and would like to help support our work, for the price of as little as a cup of coffee every month, you can open the door to access our coming exclusive content, although we will still be producing also for general consumption, so no one misses out. If you have not noticed, we focus on exploring human consciousness, which is what needs to change if we are to build a new world. Our website has been static for some time. We have been focused on using time available to produce video content. The website is currently coming into our view, and a blog is planned alongside a revamp for the website. So if the subject matter interests you, you will soon find more content on the website pages. The addresses of both website and our Patreon page are below. Thanks to all viewers and subscribers to our YouTube channel. It's your watching this and considering the content which makes this work all the more worthwhile for all of us.